Hello everybody, welcome back to the James Lawrence Allcott channel. It's time to talk about Liverpool and probably one of the biggest storylines of the Premier League season, the centre-back situation at Liverpool. Now, look, there's been a lot of talk about the centre-backs. Jamie Carragher said that they need to strengthen. Jurgen Klopp's come out and said, look, we need to be careful about the responsibilities that we have as a football club. This is in the middle of a pandemic and all those things, but it's still the January transfer window, and the recruitment of Liverpool has been so cute over the last few years that if they see an opportunity, then I think they will go and get it. And look, from broader strokes, they're going to need to replace one of these players in particular when it comes to Liverpool. I think the focus here doesn't need to be on a replacement because of the injuries right now, although Jurgen Klopp is talking about a short-term deal. The bigger problem is the fitness or lack thereof of Joel Matip. So I'm going to give you 6 options of centre-backs that could come in and replace Joel Matip. I'm talking about Joel Matip in particular, because despite being a wonderful footballer, and I'm always very careful about being negative towards players that are just getting injured a lot of the time and being a bit brittle, because that's not, it's not their choice. They don't want to be doing that. And Joel Matip is actually so much better than people give him credit for. Have a look at these stats here when it comes to Joel Matip. His passing is fantastic. This is a medium range passing, which is a big thing for Liverpool because often they need to cut through lines really, really quickly. So this is a 15 to 30 yard pass. Now, goalkeepers, as you can see, are generally quite good at this. You see those sort of, these 30-yard clips to the right back or left back. You see that a lot of the time. So the percentage of those being completed is often quite good for goalkeepers. But after that, there aren't that many players who are able to make those passes. John Stones highlights how good a season he's having at the moment. But if we keep scrolling down, not too far down, and you see a couple of Liverpool players around him, but Joel Matip, in the 8 games that he's played for them this year, his pass completion has been superb. So when we're looking at replacements, and that's what we're going to do in this video, we need to be thinking about that passing, because Liverpool play against teams that often play in a mid-block or a low block, and that, look, they're just concerned with stopping those kind of passes. So you need to really drill them through, and they need to be high quality, which is what Joel Matip has done. Go back to his whole career. He's played a lot of games, and his pass completion, 93, 94, 93%, generally 94%. Really, really strong. So Joel Matip is a great footballer. That's not something I'm contending with. It's not something I've got a problem with. The problem is he can't stay fit. And for Liverpool, with the amount of games that they've got to play, they can't have that hanging over them. That just adds to the injury woes where you've got a couple of anomaly injuries in terms of Joe Gomez and Virgil van Dijk. But with Joel Matip, as much as he brings, the size at set pieces, the calmness under pressure and the ability with the passing, as we've said, he's brittle, unfortunately. And so Liverpool need to look at options, be it for January or for the summer. And that's what I'm going to do. Let's dive into it. But before we do, if you are feeling generous, if you have been enjoying the content recently, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. I'll give you 5 seconds. To be honest, you're slowing down the video now. Thank you. Thank you very much for subscribing to the channel. It's been an amazing month on the channel. And if you don't subscribe to the channel, that's absolutely fine. But if you are feeling generous, then hit that button. Let's get into this video. Let's give you 6 options of new centre-backs that could be playing for Liverpool very, very soon. Right, we're going to kick off with an English player, and it's going to be Ben White, who a lot of people have been raving about for a good few months now. Leeds United last season, their fans absolutely loved him in their championship winning season. He came in and did brilliantly. Had to replace Janssen and did so, and actually, could play defensive midfield for them as well, and that's a big part for him. First things first, though, that English tax will apply for Liverpool. It's going to cost a lot, and his value has skyrocketed over the last few seasons. Or last season, actually, to be honest. Leeds, obviously battling with Brighton to keep a hold of him, gave bid after bid. They weren't having it because Brighton knew the value that they had in someone like him because he's so technically brilliant. We're going to get to the passing stats in a second. But at the moment, that transfer market is saying 22 million euros. I'll be honest, at 23, I'd add another 10 million on that, to be honest, especially considering he's signed a contract to 2024. That's going to be a problem for Liverpool. This isn't one for January. This is one for the summer. But I think he's a cracking option. Look, Liverpool are okay when it comes to having sort of homegrown talent in their squad. But there's a real possibility that Ben White could become one of the best centre-backs in the Premier League, and certainly when it comes to English players. And the reason for that is because he's just got so much versatility. Have a look at this. This season already, he's played as a centre-back 10 times. He's played in the midfield 5 times. So not just a one-off. He's played as a defensive midfielder. And he can play at the right as well. I think he's played right back once or twice as well. So you've got that versatility, which is absolutely crucial. You've seen how important that's been for someone like James Milner in the Liverpool squad that plays so many games. The second thing is his passing. Joel Matip, like we were saying, is just, superb at that level. And with Brighton, I think there's just huge value for players, especially sort of young players coming through, playing under Graham Potter, an attacking team, a team that's progressive, that will have intelligent players that will have to deal with the information that Graham Potter's going to put towards them, because it is a really forward-thinking club. His passes, in terms of completing passes into the final third, which is what Liverpool are going to want to see, 48 this season, which is really, really strong. And considering he plays for a team that doesn't dominate every single game that it plays, although XG, if you check out my XG video, you will see that actually Brighton have done very well in terms of creating their own chances, and he's probably a part of that. The other thing that I think is quite nice is 13 accurate passes that have entered the opposition's box. So as an attacking centre-back, he's really, really strong in this Brighton side. And actually, it's scoring those chances has been the problem for Brighton so far this season. In terms of defensive numbers, I think what's interesting here is 34 tackles this season, 18 of which have come in the defensive third, 12 in the middle third, and 4 in the attacking third. These numbers are quite solid, but I think the range of tackles, generally a lot of defenders for mid-table clubs or teams in the bottom half, they're actually a lot further back. So the bulk of all of their tackles are really happening in the defensive third. For Brighton, being as attacking as they are, it highlights that it probably suggests that one-on-one, he's a strong defender. I think that also is highlighted by the fact that he's playing in midfield, because those moments will come where you need to read the play, commit to something and make those tackles. So all of those together, along with the ability with that range to play, to have versatility and play in a high line, means that Ben White could be a really, really good option. The problem is going to be the cash here. But for Liverpool, of course, they will attract those kind of players. I think Brighton will have an understanding that they're going to have to let those players go at some point. So this could be one for the summer, and it could be a proper bidding war. You heard it here first. You've got a player on a decent contract, but a player that the big teams want. I could see Ben White going for big money this summer. Next up, I'm going to go for Upamecano. Upamecano is obviously one of the best centre-backs in Europe and one of the most exciting prospects in Europe, although he did have a bit of a struggle against Man United in a couple of games during the Champions League. But look at this, 60 million, it looks like he's going to be costing. So again, this is one of those that Liverpool have been heavily linked with, but one that I think is going to be a struggle for right now for a good few reasons. First of all, Champions League knockout match. You've got Liverpool playing RB Leipzig just in a few weeks. So allowing him to go there just to weaken yourself so much and therefore and strengthen an opposition's team in the Champions League when there's so much money to be won, and an RB Leipzig that did well last season in the Champions League, it seems ridiculous for him to do that. They're fine in a financial fair play standpoint. Werner money has come in, so they're okay, and obviously it's done over 3 years, so they're fine from that point of view. And also they're challenging Bayern for the title right now, so I think it's worth sticking with Upamecano if you're RB Leipzig, because I think, look, you could have a player that has had a great season in the Champions League, won the Bundesliga, and then you're actually probably going to sell him for even more and still have a bit of time on his contract. As you can see, the contract expires in 2023. So again, look, this is going to happen a lot, guys, but you know this with my channel. I'm going to try and keep, the title will always have a bit of a hyperbole, but when we're talking about it, we'll keep it calm. Do you know what I mean? So I think he's a player that, look, it's going to be a struggle for this to happen in January. But this is one that could, again, happen in the summer in a big way, because I think, look, Leipzig are resigned to the fact that he's going to have to go. And for Liverpool, I think he's almost the next evolution of this Liverpool side in terms of taking the handbrake off. Joe Gomez had a few wobbles, didn't he, at the start of this season before that injury. And I hope he comes back, and I hope he's, just mentally stronger. He's had that time to really appreciate what he's got here and stays fit, and it'll all be fine for him, especially from an England point of view. But Upamecano, his ability to recover, his ability to make up ground is a massive, massive asset for RB Leipzig, but could be for Liverpool as well. We saw it at the start of the season that they really wanted that high line. And also, of course, with the fullbacks for Liverpool, they always want to have those guys pushing up as far as possible. So that gap in behind is an area where defenders, centre-backs in particular, are going to have to be useful in terms of making up ground and allowing the handbrake to be taken off, because I think that's what's going to happen with Liverpool. Is they're going to have to go further and further and really double down on XG almost, double down on the percentages that we're going to score 4, you might score 2, and to be honest, we'll have 2 of the best centre-backs in the world anyway, so we can deal with you one-on-one. Despite not being regarded as that much of a ball-playing centre-back, actually his passing numbers aren't too bad here, really. His short passing and medium-range passing percentages are 90% and 92%, which I don't think is too bad at all. His final third entry passes are really strong as well, 70 so far this season, and actually generally all of his passing stats are fantastic for RB Leipzig. The one I really like are his long passes, because I think centre-backs will have to do that for Liverpool a lot of the time. You've seen that with Van Dijk. If you watch the Southampton game when Henderson dropped in, that sprayed pass over to the left-hand side to Robertson was always one that they wanted to do, those sort of cross-field passes. So for him to have the third most completed long passes, I think is great. And actually the completion of that is pretty high as well at 84%. So again, his passing is really, really good. And like I said before, in terms of those recovery runs, he's made 37 tackles in 13 matches, which highlights maybe the Leipzig style of play, but also his ability to deal with the fact that sometimes he's kind of on his own a little bit. So it all leads to the idea that he really could be an amazing replacement, a really forward-thinking replacement, and quite an attacking replacement in terms of the way that Liverpool want to play moving forward. Look, they are gambling with a title, a back-to-back title as well, and so it's how much does that matter to Liverpool? And I don't mean that in a way that's like, oh, hang on, you don't care, but it's like, I actually think probably the sensible decision is not to go for it. But if they want that second title, I think it really is there for them on a plate, because elsewhere, the problem you've got with the centre-back situation here at the moment with Liverpool is the ripple effect. It's not being able to have Henderson to kind of go in and play midfield when you want him to. It's not allowing Fabinho to do that as well. It's all of those different parts that creates that ripple effect that affects the rest of the team. The effect of Henderson having to be a centre-back, and therefore that meaning that Trent doesn't get to play as well as he wants to. All of those things are a problem. They have to strengthen here. And going back to the original point, you need to replace Matip. So do they want to do it? Not sure, but there are still a few options that we can go through now, starting with our third option, which is Skriniar at Inter Milan. Now with Milan Skriniar, there's been a lot of talk about him, a lot of transfer talk, and it looks like it's Spurs or Liverpool who might be going for him. I wouldn't be surprised actually if the likes of Man United wanted to have a look at him as well. I think he'd be a really good fit for him. I don't think Skriniar is the best fit for Liverpool, just because of the sort of style of play that he's been playing with for a long time. It's a bit more of a gamble than some of the options on this list, but he is a really, really good defender. And he's such a good defender. He's the best defender on this list. But part of that might be down to the fact that he's playing for an Antonio Conte side, which is the style of play. It means that they look to win the ball back without exposing their defence. So far this season, he's only had 9 tackles in 10 league matches and 7 interceptions, which isn't brilliant compared to the others. I think the stat that I love the best, and shout out to Kai, who helped me out with this stat, finding this stat. It's absolutely amazing. Look at this. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, hopefully you can see it above me. I might need to move it along. Where is it? Here we go. This is going to blow your mind, right? So these numbers here, errors, mistakes leading to an opponent's shot. Okay? Since 2017-18 when he went to Inter Milan. So that's 4 seasons. Errors that have led to an opponent's shot. 2. It's a madness. So defensively, he's completely sound. If that's what Jurgen Klopp's trying to do, then great. Look, he's comfortable on the ball as well. But I just think it would be a massive change for him stylistically. And actually a better fit would be Tottenham Hotspur or Manchester United, who soak up pressure a little bit more and then look to sort of burst on the counter-attack, whereas Liverpool are looking to dominate. So I think when he's got those players around him, you do feel a lot safer, and it's just about your concentration and not being silly, as opposed to being able to sort of dominate one-on-one. So Skriniar is a wonderful defender, but is he the right choice for Liverpool? In my opinion, as dependable as he is, I don't think he's the right fit for Liverpool. Transfer market has him down at 50 million euros at the moment. I think that might be about right, just because he's going into those final 2 years of the contract. I think Inter is still in a strong position, but they'll be looking to sell him in January or in the summer. For me, my gut says that I could see him going to Spurs this January. That's a complete gut call. but that, Spurs haven't been shy in their transfer dealing so far, and he would really take them to the next level and just be a perfect Mourinho player. So not really one for Liverpool, but I understand why they're all talking about him. Next up, Ozan Kabak of Schalke, 20 years of age, 25 million apparently would cost if Liverpool were to go for him. Lots of talk about him coming to Liverpool. There's two ways you can look at this one. So first of all, that Schalke are in disarray at the moment. Money problems. David Wagner's obviously left recently, and look, looks like they're going to get relegated. They're having a bit of a nightmare, and thus his numbers aren't that great. But he's got a bit of a pedigree already. He came through at Galatasaray, and he's gone for a bit of money already in terms of going to Stuttgart, I think it was, first for 10 million. Then he's gone the next season to Schalke for 13 million. He's signed till 2024, so few years there, but with Schalke struggling the way that they are, I could see this one happening. Now, the problem that you've got with him is that he's playing for a team that's, as I say, is just in chaos right now. His confidence will be low. But Jurgen Klopp, I think he likes these kind of players that need to be saved a little bit. You've seen that with Shaqiri in the past. You've seen that with Robertson, players that have got relegated and then come to that next side, and he's turned them into absolute superstars. So I don't think Kabak is that bad of an option here, and one that I think Schalke are a team where probably the scouting's been spot on in terms of Jurgen Klopp and his recruitment. It would be anyway, but in the German league, he's probably got even more contacts and will be able to really understand just how good this player could be and where he could go as a player. He can play defensive midfield as well, so technically very, very good. Ticks all the boxes. I was having a look at him on Football Manager as well in terms of his numbers. Great at heading, brave. Just a good all-round player, and 20 years of age. The other side of the coin is the fact that he probably might need a bit of time to integrate into this Liverpool side. Are you going to get more out of him in the next 6 months if you kind of put him straight into the team than you would the youngsters that you've got? I think he's a more exciting option. I think there's something about this one. I think I wouldn't have a problem with this happening. I think he's only given away one error that's led to a shot on target so far this season for Schalke as well. So I think that's a good stat to be seen in a team that's really struggling in the Bundesliga so far this season. I've got a funny feeling about this one. I feel like Schalke are kind of there for the taking. Liverpool, this sort of suits the profile of the players that they want to bring through a lot of the time, and I think he's got a bit of a pedigree already, and that's why big money has been spent on him already in his young career as a 20-year-old. This could be the guy that, yes, Jurgen Klopp has been a bit coy about so far in terms of the January transfer window, but they go and invest in a player like this who could come in and play a lot of the games, maybe not the big games, but could come in and play some of the games if Matip is injured here and there, and just be an improvement on the likes of Williams and Phillips in that centre-back role. And you've still got, 10, 12 years of a player that's just been kind of cut adrift from the situation that he's in. It's actually not really about him as a player. Keep an eye on this one. The next option is Perr, who has been linked with Liverpool from Ajax. 21-year-old, of course, has come through that system. Probably the least known player on this list for a lot of Liverpool fans or football fans in general. And in terms of kind of reviewing and scouting a player like Perr, I think you've got to keep an eye on Champions League and Eredivisie. They dominate games. They won a game recently 13-0. So for defenders in particular, I feel like you need to kind of have a look at how he does in the Champions League, because I think the players that do well in both, those are the players who are obviously capable of playing at the Premier League level. So let's have a look at his average rating on who scored, because at FBref, they don't have the stats for Eredivisie. So Perr here, 21-year-old, of course, as I said, 7.1 in Eredivisie. Great, that's fantastic. But I think that's still 14th best in the Ajax side. Like I said, dominating games, probably not doing as much as he would do in the Premier League, in a more competitive league. 7.93 for Dusan Tadic, for example. So I think the way you've got to compare it is have a look at the Champions League and have a look at his numbers there. And what's his average rating there when he's playing the sides like Atalanta, sides like Liverpool themselves? That's when it goes not awry, but look, he's up to 11th, which I guess is good, but 6.53. It highlights that he's struggled a little bit when it's come to the Champions League. So again, this one, a bit like Kabak, it might be one where it's a little bit early doors for him. His pass percentage is 91.9% in Eredivisie. When you move to the Champions League, it goes down to 81.6%. If we're talking about Matip at the start of this video and him being at 93%, that's a little bit way off. at the moment. So one to keep an eye on, and I think it'll always be at sort of a touch of a gamble when it comes to a centre-back. But look, he's the replacement for Dayot. A lot of comparisons with him. For me, this isn't one that you touch right now because I think he's going to cost a premium as well. You let him develop there and you maybe come back in a year or two. Last but not least, we've got to talk about David Alaba, who in my video, one transfer that every Premier League club needs, which I'm sure there's a link somewhere for you. I actually said this would be a great one for Man United. The reason I was saying that was because in terms of being able to cover, having that pace, being left-footed importantly as well, he's a great fit for Man United. But for Liverpool, you've got Virgil van Dijk, of course, who's a right footer. So to have a left-footed centre-back alongside with him, someone who's great in one-on-one defending. Of course, he was previously a left-back and still could play as a backup left-back for Liverpool as well. So that adds to the depth there as well. He'd be brilliant. And look, his passing statistics aren't as great, but I think this has got to be down to just the crazy style that Bayern Munich play. It's so high risk, it's so high tempo. 83.7% of his passing has completed, but 102 passes in the final third, into the final third, which is just madness. In 13 games, it's just crazy. Look, he is available to talk to players right now. Bayern Munich, I think, understand that he's on his way and would like money. Yes, it strengthens a rival, massively so. And at 28, he's not as old as you think. I think he's a really good option. This could be one, again, those opportunities that Liverpool might take, and then Man United fans are going to be going, for fuck. What are we doing here? Why are we not going and getting these deals done? Because actually for Bayern Munich, I think they'd rather sell him to Man United right now because, of course, they're not in the Champions League. They're in the Europa League. So it would be, you're not strengthening a rival in that same sense. He's obviously good enough. And look, in terms of his bringing out of the ball, that's another aspect to Liverpool that you probably don't see much at the moment. And is it what they really need? Maybe not, because you've got someone like Thiago Silva there or Fabinho when he goes back there who can sit there and dictate play, and that's what they want to do. But 100% dribble success, 4 from 4, means he's comfortable on the ball, reliable with it, knows a system that I think that Jurgen Klopp wants to kind of get over the line and forget this season, but future seasons wants to implement. And bottom line, at 28, you're still going to get 4 or 5 great years out of him. I'm sure they're having a word with Thiago about this. And this could be one. This is the one. To be honest, if you're looking at the summer, I think you go for Ben White or you go for Upamecano. If you're looking for right now, you go for Kabak or you go for David Alaba. That's what I think. But I'd love to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below which player you want to see at Liverpool. And out of those options as well, if you support another team in the Premier League that you think you could get your hands on one of these players, which one would you love to see? Final question maybe is, which one do you think is the best option right now for Liverpool? Let me know in those comments down there below. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Thank you for watching this far. Hit the like button as well if you've enjoyed the content, and I will see you in the next one.